Hey, it's Ewell, and today I'm going to be sharing with you why successful ecom brands don't actually compete, they actually connect with their ICP. And so here's the overview of what we'll be discussing. Why 90% of ecom brands get ignored. So here are the brief overview of the different sections, which are connecting versus competing, the conversion crisis, commodity versus connection, a mini case study on an 8-figure brand, owning attention, and how we execute, as well as a free gift at the end, which is a doc on how you can actually implement these strategies. Who I am first is, my name is Ewell Simon. I was previously dropshipping, and I found gaps in the e-commerce space. Then I found out about the trend on AI, and this had actually completely changed the game, which made me think of how to actually leverage AI solutions when creating an offer that could really help e-commerce brands to solve the entire gap. And so I vowed to fix the problems that I, as well as many other brand owners, faced, which led me to found HighKick to solve the whole gap of scaling an e-commerce brand. And this is the infrastructure that we leverage. From 5 figures per month to effortlessly scaling to 6 figures per month and beyond, leveraging AI infrastructure. The first part that we'll be breaking down is connecting versus competing. And so when you're competing, typically you're only scraping creatives from similar brands and tweaking, innovating, relying on friends, and you're just trying to get that quick like cash. And then you try and get on this one dropshipping product, switch to another when the ads aren't converting, when the ROAS drops, etc. Right? You're trying to win on price or speed rather than differentiation. You're mimicking different campaigns from outside your niche or your audience context, and you're focusing on quantity over quality. So you're just ignoring the deeper emotion hooks and the real connection to your ICP, which can be a big problem over time, especially as you try to transition from a drop shipping just store to a real brand. And this makes it just a carbon copy of others, and therefore you have no differentiation from the market. So why would why would they want to actually pick you over other brands that are out there? And so when you're connecting, you're actually leveraging feedback from your customers. You're building community around a shared identity or purpose. So there's actual identity with your brand. And you're leveraging known figures who can relate with your ICP. So it's not just random UGC creators who don't even know your product, don't even like it at all, who just got sent it in an inbox. And then, hey, can you start marketing with our brand? It's actually people that your ICP can literally look at themselves in and they can actually relate to them, right? So this builds an identity and a purpose with your brand. And when you design around transformation, your customer feels before and after the product, that will actually help them to actually realize what the transformation looks like, what the benefits are, and what they're really gaining from buying your product, right? So you're prioritizing affinity over virality. You don't need everyone. You just need the right people to be purchasing your products. And you need to invest in storytelling, brand moments, different events like that. And that actually helps a lot. And so the conversion crisis is this. Ecom brands selling supplements to athletes is the example we'll use today. And let's say, you're selling supplements, right? And you start to set up your paid ad campaigns as your marketing strategy. And then you go through testing reiteration. Let's say most creatives don't do well. Cut them off. And then you take the ones that do well, you reiterate and optimize. You keep on the same. You're just testing and whatnot. This is just extremely simple, right? So then you test differences in performance, continue to scale paid ads, but then the ROAS starts to slow down / hit a plateau, and you reach 20K to 50K per month, but can't seem to continue that growth. So here's a little chart just to see what that actually would look like. So let's say January, you start up, right? In December, and there's not really any growth yet. Then January, you're starting to see some actual ROI. And then February, you're starting to grow extremely quickly, but then it starts to stagnate over time. And so the problem is your marketing isn't actually aligned towards your ICP. You're just another brand scaling with sheer volume / capital. And your capital is going down the toilet, and the volume is wasted hours. And here's the solution. You realize winning brands truly have an understanding of their ideal client profile. So you build a connection with your ICP's pain points, beliefs, lifestyle, and everything that has to do with them so that you can truly connect with what they want and not what you want. Because you're not selling to yourself, you're selling to them. But of course, if you're connected with your ICP, if you genuinely picked a product that you actually liked, then of course, you should be selling to yourself since you're the same. But you should be building brand identity. And that is the main goal and focus of this entire breakdown of successful brands is that you actually want to connect and build an identity with the customers that you actually sell to. And so here's the breakdown of commodity versus connection with some different examples. And so here are some brands that connect with their ICP. For example, Nike. They're champions of personal achievement, perseverance. They inspire athletes through powerful storytelling, innovation. They embed, the just do mindset into every performance, everyday performance, literally all the time. You see that emblem everywhere. And what is it actually doing? It's actually connecting with the people that they're selling to. Day one, they embody a winner's spirit through authentic athlete partnerships. They build credibility via real-world competition, victories, and campaigns. They foster a performance-driven community of elite runners. We'll actually go into the breakdown of day one later. And as you can see, Old Money, Cortez, Supreme, Adidas, all these different brands, they actually connect with their ICP. And they genuinely evoke emotions. You have a feeling when you wear these brands. They're luxury, they're high performance, they're high caliber. You feel part of an ecosystem. And that is the goal of connecting with your audience. There was a time, for example, where they're too focused on technical performance and they neglected cultural relevance. Reebok, Abercrombie Fitch, Gap, New Balance before they completely rebranded, right? A lot of these brands had actually lost to connect with their audience. And they failed to maintain clear positioning between fitness, streetwear, and heritage, struggled to stay culturally relevant, right? They did not adapt. And that is one of the main things too, is adapting to your audience. As your ICP may not actually be the exact same the whole time. And so you may have to change it over time. And when you're not able to adapt quickly and efficiently, that's when you start to see problems like this. We start to lose the other brands that are newer or start to actually connect, right? And so what the problem is the audience is unaware or indifferent to their existence, right? Those that don't even connect, like besides these, they've at least gone to a certain point. The rest, nobody even knows about, right? Their marketing campaigns feel broad, vague, or relevant. Maybe you're on TikTok, maybe you're on Meta, and you see these ads with these different brands, and you don't even feel anything, right? So it's just, wasted time, effort, and money. There's no emotional resonance or clear positioning, and they stay small, stagnant, and fail to scale because they don't actually connect with anybody. And so here's a case study on day one. Otto Gellings partnered up with Arda Saatchi, to that story, but they founded Day One, a sportswear brand which is located in Germany, and they launched a campaign focused on ultra marathons. But what the thing is that they actually won this campaign. And they actually marketed their brand as high quality, high performance sportswear for winners, right? And ultimately, this positioned them as the fastest growing sportswear brand in Deutschland. And yeah, so here's the 8-figure brand flywheel, right? First, you have prospects that seek high performance running gear, right? So they need emerges for credibility, performance, and winning identity. So then, the visible results in brand story, right? They discover Day One through their athlete-backed campaigns, ultra marathons, the different events that they have, the different social proof, etc. And their gear actually delivers superior performance. So one of the things here is also that you can't just connect with the audience if your products are bad. Obviously, they need to be good too, and that will really help them. So after they get that really great product and they get that experience, then they also get to connect with like-minded people who share that love for that product or whatever it is. Let's say, for example, here is running, right? So then the emotional conversion is that people are energized by the reach and identity. Customers see themselves as part of a high-performance elite group, right? That tribe, and that's the emotional ownership of the brand. And then they connect to the brand's mission, and they have a community, right? Which then leads to new customers entering the flywheel through word of mouth. One guy gets his product, he really enjoys it, he goes on runs, he invites his friends. Now they all start to buy these products to get in on this, right? And it builds a whole culture. Companies like Facebook did this, where they had built a culture around it. And this is what really can take your brand to a whole different level. And this is actually something that is very rare to even see nowadays, right? And so here's the way to actually own attention. So your focus should be shift your brand positioning from another option to the only obvious solution in your category by owning the identity, narrative, and ecosystem that your ideal customer lives in. And so the way to actually build brand authority is through consistent brand messaging. So first you need to find your ICP, conduct deep market research, identify key points. Then you need to gain a full understanding, right? After you do your research. So you create miniature ICPs, which means that you have other versions. So maybe it's not all just guys that want to run. Maybe it's also women too. Maybe it's people who aren't in shape yet or are trying to get in shape. Maybe it's elite. Right? You can include key characteristics and demographics, right? And then create content that actually aligns with these different identities. So stay true to your brand values through the different messaging you have in your campaigns, organic content, etc. Right? Then authority positioning framework. So what you need is niche specialization. So boldly claim a specific submarket within your broader category. Let's say your broad category is performance, right? So let's say with the supplements, there was performance, right? It's all about the gym, etc. Now you go deeper into that. You can say calisthenics, for example. That's an even niche or submarket that you can actually capitalize on. For example, the go-to performance wear for remote athletes, not just athletic wear, right? So here it's about athletes who, work from home. Maybe it's guys that are just, in their house working out, etc. And this is actually where no. So you can create messaging that signals leadership, not the biggest, but most trusted, highest quality, emerging, most attentive, and most aligned with a distinct identity. These actually differentiate you from everyone else, right? So signature concepts are also another thing that you should do, which is introduce ideas or terms that your brand owns, right? Connection commerce, identity-driven marketing. Instead of product drops, build culture releases around launches. You need to actually build a culture. So the next part is data-backed thought leadership, right? Publishing insights or original research tied to your niche. Even simple polls or customer data turned into different content, right? So you need to frame your brand as the translator of complex shifts, AI, culture, sustainability, etc., for your ICP. So let's say there's this trend around, again, sportswear, since that is the subject that we've been going on about. You need to know how to really translate what is happening in the culture, in the environment, in the space, right? And when you can capitalize on trends like that, you can genuinely hit real growth extremely quickly in a very short amount of time. Third-party validation. When you get features, mentions, collaborators, of known people or known brands in the different spaces that you're in, right? This actually helps you to establish yourself as not just another unheard of brand, but a brand that people actually know about. You can showcase earned media or podcast guest appearances, these different ways to connect with your ICP in different places. And then dominating search intent. So optimize for keywords that associate with your brand and your leadership in that niche, right? Performance gear for remote athletes, not just athletic gear. So that way, when somebody goes to these different spaces, you're all over it, right? It's going to be way harder to dominate athletic gear. Not that it's impossible, but how are you really going to compete with Nike if you're just trying to go generalized? You have to be extremely niche, and that there's so much money in the world. So if you're extremely niche, if you get 1% of the market, you by yourself can be printing millions, billions. That's really what your goal should be. And content hub creation, articles, SEO, different tools and links just to help you with that too. And so another thing is owning the attention outcome. So what is the outcome of this? Customers mentally associate your brand with a lifestyle, identity, and aspiration, not just a product, right? So, for example, Old Money, which is there before, Cortez, Supreme. These are like, or those two are streetwear brands, right? And those streetwear brands, people actually identify with, right? Old Money, for example, people identify with, I guess, hard workers or guys that, I guess make money, right, and whatnot. And every interaction should reinforce that this brand understands me better than anyone else, and that this brand's actually for me, right? That should be your goal. So now how we execute this is, first, identify the problem. The problem is that most brands don't actually know their audience. They guess, generalize, or mimic what works for other people. But what works for other people may not always work for you. And so they spend heavily on paid traffic, content, and systems that are disconnected from what the buyer actually truly desires. So as a result, the growth plateaus, the ROAS drops, and messaging becomes noise in an already saturated market. So a misstep that a lot of brands think trying to fix this is that they think they're using AI by just automating tasks or generating content that's not actually aligned with your ICP. They confuse activity with accuracy, flooding channels without clear resonance. They implement tech stacks without marketing intelligence, creating complexity, not genuine clarity. The goal is to be lean, not just add different systems that don't even work or aren't going to truly benefit you, right? And so our solution is that we implement growth infrastructure that is designed around your ICP, not just automation. We uncover the emotional, behavioral, and psychological triggers that make your customers convert, then systematize them across your marketing, right? We automate retention loops that feel custom without needing manual rebuilds. This actually builds systems that are lean, effective, and help you to really connect with the people that you want to connect with the most, your ICP, your customers. And so, as a thank you for making it through this entire video, there's a free gift, which is the worksheet that helps founders define, deepen, and deploy their brand messaging that connects rather than competes. So if you want this full sheet that actually breaks down everything that you need to do to actually implement these different strategies into your brand, message me on IG and say the word connect, and I will personally send you the full doc on how you can actually implement this into your brand. So overall, what I want you to just take away from this video is that you need to really connect with your ICP. Don't just compete. Don't be like everyone else. Do not waste your time trying to just get a random, quick 10. The point is to really build equity, right? To be really build wealth. And so this is where you can really differentiate yourself from the rest of the competition. So leverage the ability to be different and connect with your ICP, not everyone else.